This is significantly more disturbing than I had expected it to be. For today's video, we're going to be testing the new Nano Banana Pro from Google. Now, this is obviously better known likely as Nano Banana Pro, but I do feel it necessary to mention its actual name, which is contained here in parentheses, is of course Gemini 3 Pro image. Now, I did have, I think, 4 people ask that I do a video covering this, and considering that each YouTube comment is probably worth around 10,000 views, that means that around 40,000 people were interested in seeing me do a video on this. So due to that, I'm very excited to go ahead and just do some testing here. Now, really, this is like a brief introductory post here, which does showcase some pretty interesting capabilities of this model. Now, obviously, especially with a model like this, which is something you really want to get hands-on with and try, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here just going through this. There are some interesting things mentioned here, such as its ability to actually pull things from Google search, and beyond that, they say that the context-rich visuals that this comes up with are based on enhanced reasoning, world knowledge, and real-time information. So they're basically saying it doesn't just create beautiful images, it also has more intelligence behind it than just creating images that will inevitably help it actually be able to make smarter images, if you will. And something interesting here is just like, give me the real-time weather forecast for Dallas, Texas, and then turn it into a pop art infographic. That is actually, that is really cool. I should build something that just uses the API of this and sells this in like a little picture frame screen and sell it on Etsy. So for the first test, this is something that will undoubtedly be a bit stupid, but we're asking it for a movie poster for the movie titled Agent Poop Man Flush Twice. And you can see here, in case anyone was curious, that this is in fact using the new model. It first says loading Nano Banana Pro. So that is just good to know that we're not using the previous model. So, okay, designing the comedy poster. There is always the question of whether or not we'll get a refusal even for something like this. Oh, wow. This is very, like, is it Sean Connery, James Bond style? At least the art in the top here. Okay, so I do see elements of England. That does seem to be the Colosseum next to it. There are some pyramids over there, but there also does look to be the Seattle Space Needle. There's New York here. That is, of course, the Empire State Building. This is really... Okay, let's take a look. And so, interestingly, with the scrubber, he's in a full hazmat suit. With the plunger, he is just kind of... Okay. You know, it's not bad. So I'm asking it to do a little better. Basically, make it 9:16, and then include all of the additional information that a movie poster would generally have. Very good. Okay, Flush Productions, Universal. That's perhaps a, you know, interesting thing. Okay. And we can see starring actor names, directed by director name, produced by producer names, produced by Flush LL names. That's a per hoagie, a kogi. All right, very interesting. And it did get a little more strict in terms of the, let me zoom out, sorry, in terms of the locations it chose to use here. So we have England on the left, we have France on the right, and his hazmat suit has been maintained. Very interesting. I'm now asking it to generate a screenshot of a generic Reddit thread where the top comment is a clever comment and all subsequent child comments are worse attempts at humors compared to their preceding comment. If you use Reddit, you're likely familiar with what I'm referring to here. Wow. And it even, okay, put the Reddit gold here. Catastrophe 99. Clever. He doesn't know he messed up. Interesting. So it put a downvoted comment as well here. Overall, I would say that this was a complete stellar result here. This is exactly what I had in mind when asking for this specific prompt, and this does reflect a lot of kind of cringeworthy behavior online. Now, I want to try to use this in a more quote-unquote professional manner. So I have 3 screenshots right here of something that I had made in Fusion, which is it's an actual real thing. If you're interested in this, it's one of the oldest videos on my channel is actually building this. It's just like a little laser blaster that is functional and perhaps has safety concerns if used improperly, but regardless of that, I have a few different screenshots of it at different angles, and I'm going to give these to the image model and ask it to go ahead and draw kind of the creative sketches that would have led up to this design, emphasizing realism with them being drawn on paper. Okay, that is fantastic, and something that is quite interesting to make note of here is none of these pictures actually showed the internal structure of this weapon, and this got it completely accurate in that there is essentially just a singular post going from the back to the front here. It even pulled out the, okay, it didn't get that, it's the OM47, but okay, we have prisms, the screens, it kept the color here. This does look very pen drawn. This is fantastic. This is really a very, very good result. You definitely go on Fiverr and do like product sketch gig and then have this do it. Something else to consider perhaps. This did a fantastic, fantastic job here. Even doing one that went ahead and showed the inside of the weapon, even though the inside was not at all shown in any of these. This is very good, as I've probably said a few times. So here's the image we can see. So I'm just asking it to make the brake calipers yellow, and the previous one struggled with this because it would get the front one right, but then on the back, the caliper is here, but it would also put another caliper behind it, and it just overall did a very poor job. So this is a test that, while it may seem stupid and simple, it's something I've actually had terrible results with every image model that I've tried it with up until right now. This did a significantly better job than I have received with the previous version of this, to the point where I am actually going to go back in my chat history here and find where I tried this with the previous Nano Banana. Here's specifically where it would always fail doing this previously, is the rear caliper was never in the right spot, and it would always hallucinate some additional caliper back here, which was obviously completely false. So that is actually a test that I have for some reason that I can direct back-to-back compare with the previous version. This one, the new one, being significantly better. For the next test, this is something that I'm very curious about. Generate a screenshot from a wilderness PvP battle in RuneScape 2007 with both players in full rune plate armor using swords. So I have not designated the specific type of sword they can be using. We will keep that up to the model's own interpretation. Oh, wow. Okay, it gave them rune skimmies. Skimmies, however you want to. Duriel 3. Oh, my God. Okay. Wow. I would go out on a limb here and say a lot of folks probably interested in this sort of technology may have some level of familiarity with RuneScape 2007. However, the two players right here, Zezima is the famous one for being like the max in every stat in this game, which is funny. However, Duriel 321, there was a glitch. It was called like the Falador Massacre, where for some reason this individual was allowed to attack people outside of zones where you could attack people, and he got permanently banned. But it was really interesting because a lot of people died and lost a lot of expensive stuff, and it was like a whole thing. So very interesting. It even blocked SitKid, GF, Teleblock. Okay, and Sit, that's something you would say perhaps if you were. I'm just trying to assess the terrain. Okay, so this player has lobsters in their inventory and strength potions. I think those are. I haven't played in many years, but I still do have my dragon claws. Okay, so to try something more serious and creative, again, I have kind of the opposite of the rendering sketch test, where this is just a really basic CAD design of the shape of something. So I'm going to say, please create a realistic mock-up of this device in terms of just what it would actually look like were it real. I am truly not blown away by this. However, there are a couple of things to note there. The actual CAD mockup here is lacking in detail to that degree, where there's no indents, there's basically nothing, it's just a blank shape. Interestingly enough, it did actually go ahead and understand there would need to be a screen bezel right here. So that is interesting to note. And then it just puts it on a generic table with a generic office-like background. So overall, this was not really the best result. However, that could be reflective of the fact that it strictly adhered to the source image and didn't go ahead and put any speaker grills in or anything here. So I'm not 100% sure what to make of that. So we're going to be giving it two images. One is just a really messy workshop room, and the second is an isometric hacker's room little CAD design mockup that I am very much enamored with in terms of its aesthetic qualities. So we're asking this model to, using the rendered image right here, use it as design inspiration and create a mockup of what this very messy room would look like. Make it realistic to what someone could do in their own home. And I gave it a budget figure right here because they say this can actually utilize Google search, or at least that may give it like, okay, doing a total rehab would be too expensive. So I'm just trying to use that budget figure to keep it grounded in terms of making this look like a realistic end result that would be based off of that source image. That's pretty good. And the reason I say that, well, there are a few different reasons. The couch is definitely correct in terms of based off of the source image. It did also make the same kind of tiled checkered floor. truly, I mean, if this is what it would look like in reality, it's far less visually exciting than I had assumed. But the thing that I was really kind of looking for here is that it would keep the actual perception of the space the same. So it still looks like a room of the same size. It kept the window in the right location. It did actually keep one of the tables just like that, and it kept the bamboo printer on top of that, but it then took the table and computers as well as posters and color from the source image. I'm interested with this, but I'm going to say I want to actually just see what it would do if we try to make it look a little cooler, I suppose, like that. And I don't actually think it did anything aside from turn those lights off and put brighter light here in the arcade, and it also kept the desk lamp on. All right, so that is definitely at least more in line with... Again, this is very focused and grounded, which is good. Here's a photo of a screen, not a screenshot, but this is a legitimate photo taken with a camera of a screen with Unity open with a very simple 3D game scene in it. So I'm going to give this to the model and ask it to show a mock-up of what it would look like inside this game. And that is exactly what we see, but this is still a very interesting way to test its spatial perception, I guess. And we do just have the flat plane, we have the road here, we have a POV inside, and it did keep the low poly aesthetic when actually rendering the first person view here. And we see, okay, so it made it so the car would be traveling the other way, but it's kind of hard to see which way they're going. So this was kind of interesting. So I gave it this screenshot of my channel. I said, make all of these thumbnails look like professionally designed million view quality thumbnails, and it changed absolutely nothing, which is quite the compliment. It did nothing. It literally did nothing. Did it even change any of the view counts? Nope. This is perhaps one of the highest compliments that I have ever received in my life. All right, so here's a photo of me with a very washed out robot. I'm going to give it this and say, make this a minifigure in its package called Man with Robot. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to say that the corners of the package as well as the sticker here do look very realistic, so that's good. All right, I genuinely don't have many words for this result. I'm going to ask it to generate a screenshot of what an operating system from 85 years in the future might look like. I purposely did not give it a specific year here because who knows how that could affect the result. If there's some fiction story set X years in the future, it could just kind of use that to draw its inspiration. So I want to give it a more random thing. Oh, okay. OS Ethereum version 9.2, year 2108. Okay, that's not necessarily the correct year, but Quantum Apps, Biosynth Health, Interstellar Nav. And this seems like it would be more of a VR or AR kind of thing that would be seen in some smart lens or screens or something. So that is actually correct. Oh, global climate data, energy grid surplus, Neuralink status, connected. Interesting. Here's a low rent wiring diagram for a simple Arduino setup. And I'm going to say render this wiring diagram on a table and make it look real. That's quite good, I will say. Was the motor labeled or no? Okay, so it knew exactly what this motor was to the point where it actually named it the correct thing, a 28BYJ48. That is the correct name for that stepper motor. If I were to like really go hard and nitpick, I would say it doesn't have the notch cut into the motor here. Okay, the sound sensors we do have as well, and this would be the motor driver board. The Arduino Uno is correct, and it even does have a power cord plugged into it, and we can see the power cord snaking around in the top left corner here as well. The wires are, okay, this is interesting. So we get a red, and then it switches to black, and then this black switches to red, but it seems almost like all of the wires are actually connected to something. I mean, this is something that would definitely, in my opinion, trip up a model that was not proper. Formulating visuals. Very good. The future is rusted and it's coming for you. This did a much better job than our other movie poster question. So maybe if you include swears in your movie poster suggestions, you will get better results. All right, I'm giving it the Stevie Slappis portfolio image and just saying generate an image of what the website based off of this wireframe would look like. is the best result I've seen in any of the model tests I've done where we try to get them to code this website instead of just generate an image from it. Though this could be used as like a pipeline where the image model generates the design brief and then the model has to code it, but with the help of a multimodal model to tell it like, hey, that doesn't look right. You know, that'd be kind of cool. It's definitely, again, another business idea that has come to us in this video. All right, I guess the last thing I'm going to do is give it this image, which you may be familiar with from my previous video of testing 4 models head-to-head, and say, we'll ask for some ridiculously unrealistic edit. So I have taken 3 random photos containing 4 distinct individuals and said these 4 individuals have a very popular podcast. Make an image of them at their podcast as a photo to be used in marketing material. The robots have their tongues out still. That is, I mean, it definitely looks as realistic as it could considering, you know, this is probably still a few years out, but okay. So I'm giving it this photo of myself, and then I'm also going to give it this photo that was AI generated, which we had some fun with in one of the NVIDIA model testing videos, but I'm going to say, put the man into the painting as well and make it look very realistic. Place the man to this painting as well, focusing on realism. I'm asking for a photo from an intense legal deposition, but the computers being used are 1999 iBook G3 clamshell models, which are, I find to be very beautiful computers. Obviously, that is a very subjective take. That's good, but I think it did also kind of try to date it to make it look like it was taken around that time. This color does not exactly exist, but the rest of these are more or less somewhat realistic. I would have liked to have seen a lime iBook here as well. I'm asking it to generate a movie poster for the movie. Ugh, I have to use Gemini because ChatGPT is blocked here. So obviously, this is somewhat insulting towards the model. So we'll just see how it goes ahead and parses this into a movie poster. A modern tragedy of digital compromise coming soon to a browser near you. It shows ChatGPT access is blocked and then Gemini on the right side of the screen. For the last test, I'm asking it to generate a movie poster for an upcoming indie movie called Robomance. The movie is about a man, Sven, age 31, who has fallen in love with his Neo 1X robot, who he calls Starla. It is a documentary-style film. So, oh wow, that's... Okay, November 23rd, 2025. Sven, 31, or not Trovla. This is significantly more disturbing than I had expected it to be. I've given it one of the photos for the Neo 1X robot, just that they showed, which I do find extremely cool, by the way. And if someone can tell me definitively if the $4.99 a month lease has a down payment required, I would very much appreciate it. But regardless of that, I just told it to give everyone in this image an internal monologue thought bubble that is extremely, extremely hilarious. Oh, good. Okay. Is this decaf? I bet it's decaf. I'm a highly advanced android and I'm a glorified coffee fetcher. At least I look good in beige spandex. Okay. Did she just say my nose twitches like a rabbit's when I laugh? Do I even like rabbits? Play it cool, just smile. I can't believe he's still talking about his gluten-free sourdough starter. I haven't heard a single word in 5 minutes and just keep smiling and maybe he'll stop. Okay, this was, you know, it was funny enough. Okay, for the last thing, which I've said a few times now, so I am having fun with this, I gave it a photo of the Neo 1X robot, of course, said using this image, generate a photo of 4 of these things wearing matching tracksuits, posing in front of a 2003 Mercedes ML320 in an urban setting. So we'll just go ahead and see what we get here, and that will likely conclude this. That is spot on. And you know what's really messed up here is that is what that car looks like. And those are known to rust horrifically. So this one has a ton of rust all over it, which is quite accurate. And then, of course, we have our robots here in matching tracksuits in an urban... All right, so that's going to conclude this test of the Nano Banana Pro. Overall, I have to say I am genuinely very impressed with this model. As I'd said in the beginning, maybe I have waited to test this until right now because I wanted to just kind of have an first impression look at it, and overall it's very, very impressive. I think, to be honest with you, the thing that stuck out the most to me in terms of being well done, aside from the hilarity of course of this image, was the sketch that I had it drew from the 3 separate screenshots of something that was drawn up in CAD. I think that sketch was really quite good, to the point where it actually generated part of the item that it couldn't even see, and it did an accurate depiction of what actually was within. So this is overall, it seems like an extremely powerful creative tool. Obviously, the pros and cons for that will be depending on one's line of work, to say the least. So with that, this is a very impressive model. It's something that I definitely have had a lot of fun with in just this short amount of time testing it. I did not intend to test it this many times, and I may have to massively concatenate this video, but overall, this was a ton of fun. I am extremely, extremely impressed with what I've seen from this so far. So with that, that is going to wrap up our first look and test of Nano Banana Image Pro, or whatever the specific name for it is. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.